Welcome, welcome, welcome. Part of our continuing series where we try to talk to people across the aisle, on the left, on the right, in academia, in activism, and get to you direct information from their perspective so that you can make up your own mind as to what you think are the causes of political polarization in America. With us today, we were able to get one question answered. A lot of these professors are very busy, and the more of an expert they are in their field, the more their time is under high demand. And we respect that and understand that. We were able to get one question answered today with Kevin M. Kruse. He's a professor of history at Princeton University. This is the one question we were able to get. He wrote this book, Fault Lines, A History of the United States Since 1974, with Julian E. Zelizer. We're in discussion with Professor Zelizer to get him on the show this week or maybe next week. Anyways, what is Fault Lines about? History of the United States since 1974. If you were asked when America became polarized, your answer would likely depend on your age. You might say during Barack Obama's presidency, or with the post 9/11 war on terror, or the culture wars of the 1980s and 1990s, or the Reagan Revolution and the rise of the new right. For leading historians Kevin M. Kruse and Julian E. Zelizer, it all starts in 1974. In that 1 year, the nation was rocked by one major event after another: the Watergate crisis, and the departure of Richard Nixon, the first and only U.S. president to resign, the winding down of the Vietnam War and rising doubts about America's military might, the fallout from the OPEC oil embargo that paralyzed America with the greatest energy crisis in history, and within its history, and the desegregation busing riots in South Boston that showed a horrified nation that our efforts to end institutional racism were failing. In the years that followed, the story of our own lifetimes would be written. Long-standing historical fault lines over income inequality, racial division, and a revolution in gender roles and sexual norms would deepen and fuel a polarized political landscape. In Fault Lines, Kruse and Zelizer reveal how the division of the present day began almost 5 decades ago and how they were widened thanks to profound changes in our political system, as well as a fracturing media landscape that was repeatedly transformed with the rise of cable TV, the internet, and social media. Pay attention to that last sentence. In Fault Lines, Kruse and Zelizer reveal how the divisions of the present day began almost 5 decades ago and how they were widened thanks to profound changes in our political system, as well as a fracturing media landscape that was repeatedly transformed with the rise of cable TV, the internet, and social media. So they said that in this book, came out in 2019. That's about 4 years ago. That's key. So I asked the professor, do you think things are more politically polarized now in 2023 than when you wrote the book in 2019, about 4 years ago? And here's his response. I think polarization is probably the wrong word now, as that implies both sides moving apart. We're seeing the radicalization of the right. So we've seen a lot of professors studying political polarization say this, and basically it goes like this. It's all the Republicans' fault. The Democrats have moved a little bit, but not really. Mostly we're talking about the Republicans moving very, very, very far to the right. And that's why you're seeing polarization now, is not that both sides were polarized. The Democrats moved a little bit more to the left, but the Republicans moved heavily to the right. And they are also the only party that is against democracy and trying to destroy democratic norms as we know it, whereas the Democratic Party never tries to do anything like that at all. So we've seen this narrative. He's promoting that. I don't think polarization is the word. So in the book in 2019, 4 years ago, he was saying polarization was the word, where how they were widened thanks to profound changes in our political system, as well as the fracturing media landscape that was repeatedly transformed with the rise of cable TV, the internet, and the social media. So we used to be together, but now we have massive changes in our political system, as well as fracturing because so many different channels on cable, the internet, and social media allows you to live in echo boxes where you really only hear your side and you never hear from the other side. That sounds like a balanced opinion of polarization written in 2019. In 4 years from 2019, balanced opinion, it is now, I wouldn't even talk about polarization. We're really just talking about the hardcore radicalization of the right. So professor tries to write a balanced book on polarization and talk about causes that extend across everything. In 4 years, he's changed it to, or at least it appears, it's not really about polarization. It's about just the radicalization of the right. Oh, it's another vantage point. It's from another author who studied polarization, saying it's really just a problem with those on the right. So we brought that to you. You can take that as you want, and we'll see you again very soon.